Hi ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Gokin. This is the last lesson in our radicals unit. We're going to be talking about radical equations, and we know an equation is a math sentence that has an equal sign in it, and a radical equation is one that is an equation that has a radical in it. So equations containing radicals with variables in the radicands are called radical equations. What are the steps that we're going to take to be able to solve a radical equation? We want to isolate the radical on one side of the equation. That means it says radical equals and everything else is on the other side. And then step 2, we're going to undo the root, the square root that is being taken by squaring. We know squaring and square rooting are inverses of one another. So if we have a square root, if we square both sides of the equation, we're doing the same thing to both sides. We're keeping the equation in balance, but we're undoing the square root. So let's take a look at example 1. We've got 16 equals the square root of x over 2. And the first thing that we can do is multiply both sides of the equation by 2. On the right hand side, we know that means our 2's are going to cancel out and we're going to be left with just the square root of x. On the left hand side, 2 times 16 is 32. So now we have 32 is equal to the square root of x, and what we can do here is square both sides. On the right hand side, the square root of x squared is just x, and on the left hand side, 32 squared is 1024. So our result, our answer for x is 1024, and the next thing that we're going to do is going to check to see if this works by plugging the x that we got into the original equation. So we rewrite the original equation, but instead of x, we put in the value that we got for x, 1024, and then we check to see if the equation is in balance, meaning are both sides equal to each other. So we're going to have 16 equals, and then the square root of 1024 is 32, so we're going to have 32 over 2, and 32 over 2 is in fact 16. 16 equals 16, so we have a final answer, x equals 1024. Very often with these radical equations, we plug back in, we always check our work, and the reason is we're going to come across something that is called extraneous solutions after example number 2. So let's take a look at example number 2 next. The first step in our instructions up above was to isolate the radical, and as you can see, our equation says the square root of 4x minus 7 plus 2 equals 7. So we have more than just our square root on the left-hand side of the equation. We need to get rid of that plus 2, and of course the way that we get rid of addition is by using subtraction. So we subtract 2 from both sides, and we end up with the square root of 4x minus 7 is equal to 7 minus 2, which is 5. Now we've actually isolated the radical, and what we can do is, because it says square root of 4x minus 7 equals 5, we can square both sides. The square root and the square are inverses of one another, so one undoes the other one, and when we square 5, we get 25. So now our equation says 4x minus 7 equals 25. And from here, it's pretty smooth sailing, because we're going to see that we've solved a lot of equations that look like this one in algebra 1. And so we end up with 4x equals 32. We know that we can divide both sides by 4, and x is equal to 8. Just as we said before, though, we need to check, so we're going to plug 8 back into our original equation. And when we do, under the radical symbol, we have 32 minus 7, and then we have plus 2 outside of the radical, and that equals 7. 32 minus 7 is 25, so we have the square root of 25, which we know is 5, and 5 plus 2 is equal to 7. 7 is equal to 7. So our answer works x equals 8 is our final answer. Okay, so far we had two examples. Both of those examples had one answer, and we're going to look at a different type of radical equation on the next page. Sometimes we have more than one x appearing in our radical equation. So we have an x not only under the radical symbol or the square root symbol, but somewhere else in the equation. And our instructions say to solve a radical equation with variables on both sides, you need to square each side of the equation. Now, remember that we said up above in our original instructions that we were trying to isolate the radical first. So we want it to say radical equals and then everything else on the other side. Then we're going to need to square both sides, but sometimes, and we'll see when we work on example number 3, when we square both sides, if we've got two terms, we are going to have to FOIL. So just keep that in the back of your mind. What's going to end up happening is we're going to end up sometimes with two different solutions. And with the two solutions, both of them may work, one of them may work, or none of them may work. And so what we have to do once we get those two solutions is plug back in to the original equation, try it with both of the solutions, and see if one or both actually make the equation true or work. And you can see in our example, we ended up with two different answers. We didn't actually do this problem, it was done for us, but we ended up with two answers. One of them is x equals 3, the other one is x is equal to 7. We plugged back into the original equation where we had our x's, and when we did the math, so to speak, we ended up with something that said 5 is equal to 3. We know that that is not, in fact, true. So we know that that solution, x equals 3, is not a solution for this radical equation. In the other case, we ended up with something that said 7 equals 7. That is correct. So we're fine to say that the solution to our radical equation is x is equal to 7. So once again, we're going to start out by isolating the radical. Then we're going to square both sides, and then we're going to have to check by plugging back into the original equation. So that's basically the steps that we're going to take, and let's start with example number 3. We've got square root of x plus 3 is equal to x minus 3. Our radical is already isolated, so we're excited about that, and we're on to the next step, square both sides. On the left-hand side, that's going to be really straightforward because the square of the square root of x plus 3 is just x plus 3. On the right-hand side, we need to FOIL because we know x minus 3 squared is really x minus 3 times x minus 3, and we know that that means we're going to end up FOILing. This is actually what we call a squared binomial, two terms multiplied by the same two terms. And when we have that, we have a specific pattern that we can follow, and it always follows suit. So if we have a plus b squared, we know that that's the same as a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Now, you may not believe that that's the case, but if we were going to FOIL it, a plus b times a plus b, we'd have first times first, giving us a squared, and then we'd have outside a times b, inside b times a, which we're going to write in alphabetical order, a times b, and then last with last, giving us b squared. We see that these two are like terms, so this is going to give us a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. It's always going to follow this pattern, so this is a great pattern to memorize, and it makes things a teeny bit faster. So we'll go back to our example. We have x minus 3 squared, first term squared. Then we're going to take the same sign. If we had a minus, we're going to have a minus there. The next middle term, we call it the middle term, is going to be 2 times the first term times the last term. So 2 times x times 3, so minus 6x, and then plus the last term squared, 9. Okay, perfect. This gives us a perfect square trinomial, x squared minus 6x plus 9. The way that we're going to continue to solve this, now that we have a quadratic trinomial, is we're going to move everything over to the right-hand side. So we're going to do minus x minus 3, and we do that to both sides, and we end up with 0 is equal to x squared minus 7x plus 6. The next thing that we want to do is factor that trinomial, that quadratic trinomial. It's set equal to 0, and we know two numbers that will multiply to positive 6 and add to negative 7 are negative 6 and negative 1. Okay, so we set each one of these equal to 0, and we have x minus 6 equals 0, which means x is equal to positive 6, or we have x minus 1 is equal to 0, x is equal to 1. We have two different numbers that we need to try when we do our check, because that's the next thing. We have two solutions. We already found out that when we have a variable on both sides, like we did here, we had an x and another x on the other side. When we have that, it is possible for us to have an extraneous solution. So we need to go back into the original equation with both of our solutions and see if one or both work. When we plug back in, we see that we have square root of 9 is equal to 6 minus 3. So that gives us 3 is equal to 3. That one checks out. So we know that x equals 6 is going to be a solution that works. Now we need to try the other solution. And we're going to do that by plugging in again to the original equation. But this time we're plugging in 1. So we have the square root of 4 is equal to negative 2. We can already see a problem with this. Square root of 4 is going to be positive 2. That is not equal to negative 2. So this solution doesn't work. So the only solution we have to this question is x is equal to 6, and x is equal to 1 is not a solution. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson and to your practice problems. So these questions are not hard. I know that they might seem a little bit complicated right now, especially remembering to check every single time, but you do need to do that. So on your practice problems, which we begin on page 14, remember it always says solve and then check your solution. You do that by plugging in your answer to the original equation. Alrighty, please bring any of your questions back to class so we can discuss them and get them cleared up before you get started on your practice. See you back in class.